This is Beyond the System, a podcast created by Charitable in Norfolk. We co-designed this podcast with Norwich Theatre and the Norfolk County Council Social Care Participation Team. We participate in a series of workshops to explore our individual creativity and to prepare us to share this part of our story that we hope will make a difference and make others feel less lonely. Each episode starts with a creative piece and then a conversation on the topic.
This episode is Growth and Healing. We are joined by SW, RM and Lizzie.
Okay, everyone, this introduction's done now. Let's get going.
This is a letter to my younger self. To you, right now, you're probably feeling alone, confused, wondering if you made the right choice, if anyone will ever understand your choice or you. You may feel like you don't belong anywhere. You may just want to push everyone away. It might feel safer that way. You don't get let down or hurt. You may feel like giving up. What's the point in a life where you don't belong? Giving up would be a mistake. There is a world that will understand you. It may take time, and in order for people to understand you and for you to belong, you have to try and let them in. Let them in, let them listen to your story and help you. You're not alone. You'll find people like you and be able to get comfort in knowing you're not the only one. Your choice was right for you. Remember that. Don't let anyone tell you any different. People will understand one day, but for now, believe in yourself, be strong, be brave and kind like you always have been, and one day it will all make sense. One day you'll find where you belong. From me.
Thank you for reading that. That was a very raw emotive piece that has very clearly come from a very authentic place with regards to your journey as a care experienced young person. I wanted to ask what the journey was for you in writing that piece. How did you feel composing it?
Well, it took a while to write, to be honest. It took me a couple of days to figure out sort of what advice I would have given myself back then with everything I've learned and everything I've been through. But it felt good to write that down in that way because, you know, all of what I've written is sort of how I really would have liked that advice when I was coming into the care system.
How have you grown sort of so much to be in this position now as a result of your experience in the care system?
So originally I really struggled in the care system. It was a big thing for me I actually signed myself into care at 17. And to start off with, I felt very alone. And it was kind of like no one understood why I'd done what I did. No one really quite got me. My foster carers didn't. None of my workers really did. But I slowly met workers and other people in the care system who had been through similar things like me, and I sort of found a way through it with belonging with them. And more recently through my own child, I've had a lot of support with that, and I've grown a lot through that as well. It's not been easy. I mean, there were times when giving up was, as in my letter, was sort of my only feeling. But with the more support I've had around me from not just professionals, but also from personal life, I met my partner, and I've met friends through the care system who have been there for me throughout my entire adult life.
Okay, so obviously my younger self, I felt I didn't use my voice in a productive way because I felt I was fighting for things that was right for me. But now, looking back on that, I felt that I could have done it in different ways. But obviously in that moment, all I needed to be was to be listened to. And obviously I was going to do it in any way that I felt I was going to be listened to. So maturity is a good, has a lot to play in it, because as you get older, you mature more and more. Feel like my support network had a huge part in that as well, because a lot of people said to me, you need to calm down a bit, with how you're projecting your feelings and stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of things really. Obviously, I'd say I took the opportunities I was given, but sometimes I feel like I could have took them earlier, because I had been given opportunities earlier in life, but I was kind of not really. I felt in myself I wasn't in a great space to take those opportunities. But then, a couple of years later, I was then in a better position to then take the opportunities that were given to me. So
I think all of that goes to show that the idea of growth as a means to sort of develop oneself from a point A to point B is a very linear journey, is kind of disproven. We always think about sort of, growth and healing and development as, getting from a point of not being good to being good, or going from good to better. There could also be days, despite the opportunities that there might be, despite how on other days you might feel totally prepared, there might be days where you feel totally hopeless and that no progress has been made, especially when you have, the challenges that people who are in care or who are care experienced face. I liken it to a scab. A scab we heal with, but it never looks pretty. And it's kind of apt for describing the process of growing against trauma, against experiences that aren't necessarily positive, because we might develop sort of responses that aren't, friendly to ourselves, that might be damaging. But we can also still reflect from that. And by the end of it, it sounds like with these opportunities that you might have had moments where you've struggled with, it has ultimately helped you sort of become an adult, become self-sufficient. And that's what I've seen for myself. As well, in my experience, I have had moments where I have looked at myself in the mirror and thought, what have I actually accomplished? But that's only because I'm thinking from yesterday to the last time where I said to myself, what have you accomplished? If you backtrack even a bit further and just say, what have I done over this past year from when I started wanting to grow in this particular aspect, you find that actually you've done so much more than we as humans love to give ourselves credit for.
100% agree with that. There are days still when I'll look back and think, was it all worth it? But then I look at everything I've overcome and everything I've been through and realise actually it was. There's still days when I struggle. I mean, even now, after everything, I still do struggle with that. I do still struggle with, was it all worth it, etc. Well, on my really bad days. But when you look back at the bigger picture, all the things, it really does make it worth it.
We aren't made, no one is made to operate at their best, at their full capacity all the time. People aren't often enough taught that they can have bad days. And I think acknowledging that you have them, letting yourself have one, and then sort of, the following day, trying your best once again, as much as you can, even if you struggle again, is all that you can do.
I think part of that is, I always think, through everything I've been through, if I hadn't have made it through that bit, then I'd have never seen the outcome on the other side. So like with my daughter, had I've not got her home, had I've given up when I wanted to, I'd have never had her home. I'd never have been able to see the day where that ends, And I think a big part of me when I feel that way is to say, well, hold on, I made it through this and the grass on the other side was greener. it may be really crappy right now. I may feel like I just don't want to be here. And I still some days feel like that, even though life seems okay. There are days when my past causes me to have those feelings, but I always think to myself, this is just a rough patch.
This podcast has been produced by Care Leavers in Norfolk, Norwich Theatre and Norfolk County Council. To find out more, please head to the Take Part pages on the Norwich Theatre website.